All right, you guys, we are going to be doing hurricanes today. This is the last segment of our natural disasters. Well, it's not the end of the unit, but it's the last one we're going to learn about. And then after this, so next week, you guys need to decide which natural disaster you want to do your project on. So we have earthquakes, volcanoes, tornadoes, or hurricanes. On the back of your packet, you should have a paper that looks like this. You're going to need that while we read through the selection. And then you also have what you need to make a book. Oh, that's upside down. You're going to make a flip book just like we did with the tornadoes. Okay? So go ahead and get this out, and we're going to fill this out together as we read the section. So our first question in this long box wants to know, what is a hurricane and why are they so destructive? I'm going to read the first page and we'll get our answers. What are hurricanes? The word hurricane comes from Huracan, a god of evil on some Caribbean islands. This is a fitting name for the storm because it can cause a lot of destruction and damage. Hurricanes, which can also be referred to as tropical cyclones, are storms that are different from other natural disasters. Hurricanes last for a longer amount of time than tornadoes or earthquakes. A hurricane is a storm that forms over tropical ocean waters with winds that are 74 miles per hour or more. The storm can be more than 300 miles wide. They travel slowly at a speed of 10 to 20 miles per hour and can last for weeks. What makes a hurricane destructive? There are a few factors that make a hurricane destructive. Wind, heavy rain, and storm surge all contribute to the destruction this storm can cause. A storm needs wind speeds of at least 74 miles per hour to be classified as a hurricane. Winds this strong can cause a lot of destruction on their own. The strength of the winds can do many things. It can blow down large objects like store signs or trucks, damage buildings, or tear down electrical lines. Along with wind comes heavy rains. Rainfall can become intense, which can eventually lead to flooding or mudslides. This can become more of a problem in areas that do not have a lot of trees. Trees help to keep soil in place with their root systems. In many Caribbean counties or countries, trees are cut down to be used for daily life, therefore creating mudslides when there is heavy rainfall. Mudslides can be dangerous. A mudslide can bury homes and buildings. A storm surge is also one of the dangers associated with hurricanes. Storm surge is a huge dome of water that a hurricane sucks up from the ocean. Once the hurricane reaches land, the storm surge flows over everything in its path. The amount of the storm surge depends on the strength of the hurricane. Typically, a weak hurricane has a storm surge of 3 feet, while a strong hurricane can be as high as 25 feet. Okay, so in this top box, it says, let me read it real fast. A hurricane is a storm that forms over tropical waters in the ocean with winds that are 74 miles per hour or more. The storm can be 300 miles wide and travel very slowly, so they can cause a lot of damage. Okay, so Miss Key can pause it right here and you guys can copy that down onto your paper. All right, so frequency, we're right here on the second page. The number of hurricanes depends on the conditions of the ocean. In order for a hurricane to form, it needs warm water temperatures and currents. Currents are areas of water that flow like great rivers. In the Atlantic Ocean, on average, 10 named storms occur each season, with an average of 6 becoming hurricanes and 2.5 becoming major hurricanes, which is a category 3 or greater. We'll talk about categories in a little bit. The most active season was 2005, during which 28 tropical cyclones formed, of which a record 15 became hurricanes. That's a lot, you guys. So how does a hurricane form? Most hurricanes start on the west coast of Africa as a storm and move west toward the United States. In order to become a hurricane, they need warm waters. Number 1, warm, moist air above the water rises upward from the ocean surface. Number 2, an area of low pressure, rising air forms underneath. Number 3, air nearby rushes into the low pressure area and produces wind. Moisture from the ocean contributes to the rain. Number 4, more water, moist air rush in from the ocean. The air begins to spin quickly because of the Earth's rotation. In the northern hemisphere, that's where we live, the wind turns counterclockwise. In the southern hemisphere, like Brazil and Australia and parts of Africa, it turns clockwise. So the way a clock goes. Ours goes the opposite way. Number 5, the storm spins across the ocean like a top. As it continues over the warm ocean, it gains strength. Number 6, once it moves over land, it will lose much of its strength because it doesn't have warm water to feed it. Okay, so now we have this box over here that asks us how does a hurricane form? So Miss Key can go ahead and pause this right here and you guys can jot that on down. Now we are going to talk about the different stages of a hurricane. So we're on this page. Has this little picture here. Okay, stages of a hurricane. From a disturbance to a hurricane, the storm goes through 4 different stages. First is a tropical depression, a mass of thunderstorms that have a slight wind circulation. 2, tropical depression. This isn't storms that are depressed. It's something else. Tropical depression is a group of thunderstorms come together under the right atmospheric conditions for a certain length of time. Winds near the center of the depression are 23 to 39 miles per hour. There is an organized circulation of wind near the center of the storm. 3, now we're at tropical storms phase. Sustained winds are from 39 to 73 miles per hour. It becomes better organized and starts to look like the circular shape of a hurricane. Tropical storms are given a name which will stay with them if they become a hurricane. The heavy rains from a tropical storm are most problematic. And then finally, a hurricane. If the tropical storm's wind increase to 74 miles per hour or above, it is considered a hurricane. In addition to high winds, there is a defined eye in the center of the circular storm. So if you look right in that picture on your page, there's that circle. That's the eye of the storm. So now on our little clipboard, you are going to write down the stages of a hurricane. Tropical disturbance, tropical depression, tropical storm, and then finally a hurricane. So we'll go ahead and pause that while you guys fill that out. Okay, so now we're going to do parts of a hurricane. A hurricane is composed of 3 parts: the eye wall, the eye, and rain bands. The eye wall is a bank of swirling clouds that surround the eye. It sucks up the ocean water from the storm surge, similar to a drinking straw. The eye wall can be anywhere from 5 to 30 miles wide. The most damaging winds and heaviest rains are found here. Winds will increase if the eye is small and decrease if the eye is big. So the bigger the eye, the smaller the wind speeds. The eye is the circle in the middle of the storm. The entire storm rotates around the eye. The eye can measure 20 to 40 miles across. In the eye, winds are calm. The skies are clear and the air pressure is very low. Rain bands. Bands of clouds that swirl out from the eye wall, giving it a pinwheel appearance. They can be a few miles or tens of miles wide and 50 to 300 miles long. That's a big storm. Okay, so we have what are the parts of the hurricane in this middle box. So we can go ahead and pause that there and you guys can fill it out. We got the eye wall, the eye, and the rain bands. And then I added some color to my hurricane. All right, let's go to our next page. This is some fun stuff. Now we're going to talk about where and when do hurricanes occur. So hurricanes happen in many parts of the world. Most form in the Atlantic, Pacific, or Indian Ocean. Since they form in the ocean and then they will move land, hurricanes cause a lot of destruction for people that live along the coast or on small tropical islands. So we don't get hurricanes in Utah because we're not by the ocean. In the United States, hurricanes most often make landfall along the East Coast or along the states that lie in the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, hurricanes can hit other areas, but the areas above tend to be hit more often because of the warm water temperatures. Most hurricanes occur in the summer or fall when the ocean temperatures are warm. Hurricane season is typically from June 1st to November 30th in the Atlantic Ocean, Northwest Pacific Ocean, Caribbean Sea, and Gulf of Mexico. August and September are the peak times or most active during the season. Australia and the Indian Ocean have a different hurricane season because they are in the southern hemisphere. Their seasons are reversed from the northern hemisphere, so they have their summer in December. Their season runs from December to March. Okay, so here it says how often do they occur? It depends on the weather. Warmer weather typically yields more hurricanes. So that's what you need to write in that box. And then this long one says when and where do hurricanes occur? They happen in the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Ocean. In the Northern Hemisphere, they occur from June 1st to November 30th, with peak times in July and August. In the Southern Hemisphere, they occur in December to March. So you need to fill out this box and this box. I'll go ahead and pause it there for you guys. Okay, now we're going to talk about measuring hurricanes. There is a box on your page here, that's bottom box that you need to fill out. It's this same box right here. Okay, so you just need to transfer that information over to there. But let's read about it a little bit. The Saffir-Simpson scale is used to predict the destruction of the storm. Invented in 1969, it assigns numbers to each storm. The number corresponds with a category that tells people how strong the storm may be. So a category 1 has winds of 74 to 95 miles per hour. The storm surge is 4 to 5 feet. Destruction is minimal. 2, a category 2, 96 to 110 miles per hour winds. The storm surge is 6 to 8 feet. Destruction is moderate. Category 3, your winds are 111 to 130 miles per hour. The storm surge is 9 to 12 feet. Remember, the storm surge is all that water. It's sucked up from the ocean and how much it's going to drop, like what big it is. It has extensive destruction in Category 3. Category 4, 131 to 155 mile per hour winds, 13 to 18 feet storm surge, extreme destruction. And 5, this one has greater than 155 mile per hour wind speeds. The storm surge is bigger than 18 feet, and it has catastrophic destruction. So then it does have a question off to the side here, and it says, what is one way to stay safe? And then the other side says, identify a fun fact about hurricanes. So there's my fun fact. And then let's read the rest to answer that other question. If you guys need to pause it to fill out that chart, now would be a great time. Warning systems. Since hurricanes move slowly, it is one of the easier storms to warn others of. Warning systems broadcast on radio, television, and internet to alert people of its path and possible destruction. Weather satellites help meteorologists, scientists who study weather, make these predictions. Staying safe. There are many ways to stay safe during a hurricane. Knowing where you live and if hurricanes are common to your area are important. Listening to weather reports can keep you updated of what is to come. If a hurricane is predicted for your area, consider making a kit to help you. The kit can include items such as bottled water, canned food, a first aid kit, important documents, and medications. If you need to evacuate your home, it will be helpful to have these items with you. Fun facts. Tropical storms are given names that stay with them as hurricanes. This started in the 1950s because people would be confused if several hurricanes hit the same area in a short amount of time. At first, all hurricanes were named after women. It wasn't until 1979 that the WMO, the World Meteorological Organization, added men's names to their list. There are 6 lists of names that are rotated each year. The names on the list are popular names throughout the world. They are in alphabetical order, alternating from male to female. If a hurricane is very destructive or damaging to an area, the name is pulled from the list and will not be used again. Examples include Hurricane Katrina, that was a bad one, you guys, and Hurricane Harvey. Okay, in your packet, you have this paper, comprehension questions. What is a hurricane? How does a hurricane happen? What are the 3 parts to a hurricane? What are the stages of a hurricane? Where are hurricanes most likely to occur? And how can we prevent people from being hurt during a hurricane? This is homework. I know you guys are so excited. You need to do it as homework, okay? So all those questions can be found in our reading, and I'll post this video onto Blooms, so if you guys want to listen to my beautiful voice read it again, you can. Okay, if I included this in your packet, I didn't mean to, so just ignore it. Okay? This is a list, though, if you decide to do your project on hurricanes, this is a list of famous hurricanes that happened, so that could be one that you pick from that list. Okay, the next thing you guys need to do is make your flip book. You're going to make this the same way we made our tornado one. So I just put a little bit of glue to get that in there. The questions are fairly easy, you guys. What is a hurricane? Hey, we answered that on our other paper. Why are hurricanes so destructive? Summarize how a hurricane forms. You wrote that on your other paper. Describe the stages. You wrote that on your other paper. Label the 3 parts of a hurricane. You did that on your other paper. Where are hurricanes most likely to happen? And when are hurricanes most likely to happen? So when and where. And then you have your scale you need to fill out. And then how to stay safe. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I don't care how you glue this in. I just need to be able to read it. And I would like some color added to these if you guys have time. Okay? All right, if you guys have any questions, the wonderful Miss Key is there to help you. I miss you all, and I will see you soon.